Assalamu alaikum. Dear learners, I hope you have gone through last two videos and have understanding of what we are going to discuss in this course. In the previous video, I talked about measurement systems through some examples and also revealed the basic components that make up the measurement system. If you can remember, the first and the foremost thing that a measurement system has is a sensor. Therefore, in this part of the lecture, I am going to focus my discussion on sensors only. Sensor means something that can sense or has the ability to sense something. If I talk about sense, then sense means to know something or to have an idea of something. It's my habit to relate everything to what nature has. Therefore, I can't stop myself relating a sensor with how humans sense something. And in fact, you'll come to know that all sensors which humans have developed are somehow inspired by nature. So let's talk about what senses do humans have and how we can relate it to man-made sensors. We all know that humans are known to have five senses. However, some other biological creatures have senses different than humans. Can you name the five senses we have? Yes, you are right. No, not you, but you, yes, you are right. We have a sense of touch, taste, vision, sight, and hearing. Using these senses, we keep our brain aware of whatever is happening around us. And based on the measurement our brain receives by these senses, it makes logical decisions, at least for most of us. Just for general knowledge, let's see an incredible video explaining how humans' hearing sense works. So, what is a sensor then? A sensor is something that collects information about the physical world, just like the sensors in a human body. Moreover, these artificial sensors may use electrical, mechanical, chemical, or some other phenomena to map an environmental attribute or quantity to some quantitative measurement. This conversion of physical quantity to a suitable form is called transduction. More formally, transduction means to convert energy from one form to another one. For example, the heat energy of our body is converted to the kinetic energy of mercury molecules, which makes it expand in mercury in glass thermometer. Although human sensors are limited, artificial sensors may not be. For example, our sense of vision cannot see beyond visible spectrum, and our sense of hearing cannot hear anything above 20 kHz, ideally speaking. Similarly, limitations are attributed to our sense of touch, smell, and taste. However, humans have developed vision sensors that can see beyond the visible spectrum, that is, infrared, X-rays, gamma rays, and some other quantities as well. Moreover, ultrasonic sensors can hear sounds way above 20 kHz. Chemical sensors can detect taste and smell beyond what humans can sense. And if we talk about radiations, then humans are altogether unable to detect any. Whereas we have devised sensors that can easily detect alpha, beta, gamma radiations. Whatever sensor humans have made is utilizing some form of transduction principle, or is converting energy from one form into another to sense and register a physical quantity. Just to name a few, a thermistor converts temperature into change of resistance, whereas batteries and few other instruments convert chemical energy into voltage. Similarly, the list can go on and on for every kind of artificial sensor out. Most of the time, a measurement from a single sensor is not reliable enough to make decision. For example, if you are using a single sensor to measure the temperature of a large hall, then that temperature sensor can only give you a temperature of a small locality and not of the large hall completely. So if you rely only on the output of a single sensor, then your perception about the temperature of the hall will definitely be flawed. To take care of this thing, you might need to install multiple temperature sensors all around the hall and combine their output somehow, and based on that combined value, you should be able to better perceive the actual temperature in the hall. This technique has an additional benefit of making the system more reliable. For example, if one of the sensor fails or provide a faulty output, the output of the whole system won't get that much affected. Therefore, general technique is to use multiple sensors and fuse their output somehow and then interpret its meaning. While combining data from various sensors or before making sense out of even a single sensor, you need to pre-process the signal coming from that sensor. Now, what is pre-processing? It is nothing but cleaning up the sensor data before using it. For example, there might be some noise added to the signal that can sway your decision from the right path, or your instrument might have some error in it, making all reading skew to a certain side. So, what you should do before using such unreliable data is to clean it. The exact method of cleaning depends very much on the sensor and the application where we are using it. So for different applications, we have different kind of cleaning processes. So why do we need to fuse output of multiple sensors, and what benefit will it bring? For a reliable measurement, usually one sensor is never used because real sensors are normally noisy. They have limited accuracy and are unreliable. Moreover, they have a limited coverage area, hence are unaware of what is happening beyond the coverage area. Additionally, a single accurate sensor might be expensive. However, similar kind of accuracy and reliability may be achieved if we use multiple cheaper sensors. Use of multiple sensors will additionally provide redundancy in the system, such that even if one sensor fails, the system will still work. The combination of data from different sensors may be combined in different ways. For example, to measure the temperature of a large hall, physically displaced temperature sensors data may be combined, whereas a single sensor installed inside your laptop will record the laptop's temperature after some time, and then combining data from measurements displaced in time, the laptop can decide how you are using your laptop. Or a lawn sprinkler controller can use the data of a water flow rate sensor, rain sensor, moisture sensor, and weather data to plan watering of the lawn. Moreover, we can utilize various mathematical tools to remove any uncertainties present in the data. For example, Bayesian methods, neural networks, and Kalman filters are quite famous in this domain. So no matter how you process and combine the data, at the end, the brain or the central processing unit will think that there is one large virtual sensor attached which is capable of measuring the physical quantity that it is receiving after fusion and after every kind of pre-processing. So once you have processed the data coming from the sensor, now is the time to make sense out of it. Now it's the job of the central processing unit or the brain to make sense of the sensed data. But this stage can prove to be very tricky, as how you interpret the signal depends on context from where the data is being collected. Therefore, a certain value of signal may mean something for you while it might have a completely different meaning for me. So you should carefully plan that how you should use this sense signal and what sense signal mean. With this, I would like to close the discussion on the sensors and hope that you have gained basic understanding of what sensors are and what we are going to go through during this course. At the end, I would request you guys to write some sense which a biological creature has and its alternate artificial sensor humans have developed in the comments below to get the extra participation marks. Good luck and take care.